to start then and do my part of the demo. As you know, sometimes it can go well, sometimes it cannot. But we're gonna do our best for it to go the best it can. I'm gonna start sharing my screen. You guys let me know once if you can see it.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna put myself in presentation mode, and I'm gonna start from the beginning. You already know who we are. We are proMX. We are a Microsoft Gold partner. We focus mainly on project operations, but we do everything, especially having to do with Power Apps and all the enhancements that Power Apps allow us to do over project operations, as we just demoed this morning. We're going to be talking about PPM solution today, which is one of our solutions that we put on top of project operations. We also have other solutions such as time tracking, cost tracking, and holiday management, which are also very beneficial for many of the project operations users and customers. Okay, but we're going to focus today on PPM. We always throw these phrases because here in the US we love talking about just acronyms, but it is also nice to know what PPM really is, really means. Okay, so PPM stands for Project Portfolio Management, and it's designed to help organizations effectively and efficiently manage their project portfolios. Okay, so the whole idea is you can put a lot of projects together into one portfolio, and then you can take a look at those projects at a higher level, accumulating the information that comes from all these projects. Okay, what is our target group? In short, any company that is of a considerable size and they manage quite a few projects. With that comes the need to take a look at your whole portfolio and how you're performing. And that could be as a whole company or different divisions and groups that are responsible for those portfolios. Okay, I think so far everything is super clear, except my accent. So if you need me to stop.
I'm the last one to complain about anybody's accent, so just go.
Believe it or not, I was born in London, and that's all I've done over there. They kicked me out. I wasn't good enough, I guess. So why did we come up with this idea of presenting the solution under our consideration and giving our experience with all our customers? We see that there is a little bit of a gap on the out-of-the-box solution that Microsoft Project Operations offers, and what customers are really expecting to be out of the box. Of course, you can, by using Power Apps and other methodologies, enhance the solution and have your own portfolio management capabilities. But we wanted to have something ready that is out of the box so they can hit the ground running once they install both project operations and our solution. Okay. The particular needs that they always express to us is the poor overview of the insights into projects. And again, when you scale these to a portfolio level, okay? Usually on big corporations, every business units and every department, they have their own silos of information and projects. So when you go to the managerial level, the executive level, there is not a view that comprehends all these different projects, okay? Having those challenges, brings a struggle, and then you have the lack of information, prioritization, and other needs that are present at the corporate and executive level. Okay, that's what we identify, and that is what we're trying to solve. That takes us to the key features of our solution. Okay, so we also identified that it's not only a portfolio level. Under portfolio, many corporations have a more sophisticated hierarchy that goes down to program. Okay, so we recognize that hierarchy, so we ship that out of the box, and still customers can enhance that hierarchy and make it as complex as they need to. Okay. We also see that they love the Gantt view, so we added that into our portfolio, so that takes you into the timeline application. Okay, and of course, the main goal is to have an overview and controlling mechanisms over your cost and budgets. Okay, down on those key features, you're going to see everything around that. Right, time recordings takes you back to our time entry solution, and of course, by using Power BI, you can do all the advanced reporting that you need. And we kind of take the same approach that Microsoft does. We give you a tool that has 80 to 90% of what you really need out of the box, and then when it comes to reporting, you will have to create those reports yourself. Thanks to Microsoft and the Power BI solution, they can do that easily. And since our solution is also configurable, meaning they can keep on adding more requirements that they have, columns, data points, that something that takes you to have to create your own reports to take in consideration all those configurations. Any questions so far?
No. That's
To
all
wrap it all
clear.
up,
Kseniya already briefed me, so I'm looking forward to see it.
oh, you want to see it working? Okay, then it's demo. Now, let me move this out of the way, and let me make this as big as possible, and let me know if my screen definition is okay. If you can see
I
everything
will
okay.
also move
here.
you to a bit bigger screen up. Okay. Yeah, great. I can see everything.
Perfect. So I will explain this. You already know it, but as you know, we can create our own application, which you're going to have available on the top navigation, and you can get to it from already on our application, which is proMX 365 PPM. When we load the application, you can have a default home screen that is configurable and customizable to your needs. In this particular screen, we added a few areas to kind of demonstrate to the customers what they can have on their home screen. So we have a news feeds, we have one default Power BI portfolio that we included. That portfolio already takes in consideration a lot of the projects, tasks, and the portfolio and the filtering capabilities as well. And then we have links to the application itself, different areas of the applications. We happily support these applications, so we included here our links to our documentation, support, feedback, as well as the history of your updates, right? So you can keep track of all your updates, and then hopefully later on what is coming down the line as new functionalities. Okay. Then down to the width of the project management area itself, I can navigate quickly to my projects, tasks, or reports. I won't do that. I'm just going to go and navigate to my portfolios, which is what we want to see. It's a model-driven app to begin with, so you already don't know the typical navigation style in which first I access a view of all my records. This follows the common Microsoft functionality of being able to edit the columns, the filters, create new views, access all the views that I have access to, given my level of access roles or what has been shared with me. Okay. And then you see the information of the portfolio itself. The important part that we want to show right off the bat is the budget and your actual cost. And this
So
is
the budget is combined of all the projects that are within the portfolio.
That means yes and no. You can define your own budget for the portfolio, and this is where the control capabilities come in, right? So if you start with a portfolio and they say my budget is $10 million, okay, and then you keep on adding projects to your portfolios, and the individual budgets go above that budget, there goes your first alert. Right? There goes your first trigger for you to do something about this. You need to modify the budgets at the project levels that accumulate up to the portfolio. Is that clear?
Yeah.
And then you have the actual cost. And this is the aggregation of all the projects that are being accumulated up to this level of the portfolio. Okay?
Yeah.
We have our overall health status. The health status I can modify it manually, or they can be updated by triggers. And that's when it goes back to the Power Platform, the Power Flows, and we start working on those triggers and the logic that we want to put behind those triggers. Okay? Any questions so far?
No, all clear.
Now, we get into the details of the portfolio itself. Okay, and as you already know, this can be configurable, customizable. The number of tabs, the forms that we're presenting to the end user will depend on the user themselves and their roles. Okay, we do follow the business process model in which they can follow a business process as they're going through the steps. They have to complete different parts of the information required by the portfolio itself. Okay, so all of that is familiar. It's the same out-of-the-box functionality that comes with Microsoft platform, I would say, not only project operations, and we take advantage. Okay, we do have the timelines. We want to make sure that that is visible to the users and they can have activities, emails, approvals, etc., that can pop up and show over here. To the general information itself, of course, we have a name. We added type of portfolios. Again, they can add on to this type of portfolios. We have the basic values that we compile over here. And let's say we're going to just work with the operational portfolio. We give them priorities. And again, all these data points can be used for different automations, alerts, notifications, so on. Okay, a basic description. And important data points are portfolio managers, right? So we want to identify a manager who's taking care of this portfolio. We do have a start date and date, okay? Then we also want to compare the actual start date, just like we do at the project levels. We're familiar with this concept versus when we plan to start this portfolio, when it actually kicked off, okay? We want to identify internals and external stakeholders, okay? Especially for communication purposes, okay? And then for approval purposes, we can use that information as well. We have some basic financial information, such as is this funding internally, externally? Okay. We want to identify some funding sources. That could be a customer, it could be an internal department, business units. And I'm sorry I'm looking that way, but now you're on my other screen.
No, don't worry, fine.
Okay. We do want to keep track of the reviews that are happening at this portfolio. Okay, and pretty much that composes our first general tab. Now we go into the more entertaining part. And we want to add some controlling information over here, which is what is the estimated total cost. And this will be start getting updated as people are entering time entries and cost entries on the projects associated to the portfolio. Right there. Okay. There is always a discussion with the customers at which point you want a time entry to be accounted or accrued as a cost. Is it when it is on draft or is it when it is approved? Right. So that's a famous discussion that you might have, and we have ways to work on that as well. Okay. So then it's going to take me to the estimated total cost, time entries, and cost itself, the cost entries. We also want to track the effort in hours, okay? Total recorded, and then we have different, again, as we're going through those stages in the time entries itself, you know, we have different ways to show that information, what is approved, what is in draft, what is already been in, so on and so forth. Any questions?
No, all clear.
Okay. Let me know if I'm speaking too fast.
No, I will interrupt you, don't worry, you just carry on.
I know that Joe is falling asleep, for instance, so I need to make sure that I check on you.
You are always top of mind and fully attentive.
Entertain.
Yeah, entertain.
Thank you. Program. So as I mentioned before, we recognize that a portfolio sometimes is enough of what they need, but it's usually there is a hierarchy. Okay, so before you get into the portfolio level, you want to design some and define some programs. Okay, so you can have the hierarchy in which now I'm not only associating projects, but I'm also associating programs. The programs themselves, they do have projects. Okay, so I do have some programs that are associated for this MO purpose. We're gonna get into those later. So I'm gonna just jump into my associated projects. You can, of course, associate your projects through your subgrids. Okay, or you can at the project level when you are creating a project, define which one is the portfolio or the program itself. Okay, so the hierarchy and relationship goes both ways. Okay, we wanted to add, of course, some information regarding the projects themselves, such as start date, finish date, effort hours, total recorded, total completed, percentage of completion, total amounts, financial information, and then some KPIs around the status of the projects themselves. Okay. Now, risks and issues. This could be defined particularly for this portfolio, or we could be inheriting everything that is defined at the project level as well. Okay, so the idea is the accumulation, aggregation of the projects will define all your risks over here. Okay, and then you can say, given the status of all the projects, I put a new risk, which is this portfolio is at risk. Or we are happy, there are no risk, and this is the way that I want it presented over here. Okay, we always love the happy path. Risks are usually associated to issues. Okay, so several issues will bring some risks. So we allow you to create your own issues at the portfolio level, or they can be accumulated from the projects and programs themselves. I think that is pretty much self-explanatory. We do have some administration configurations that we allow the customers to do on their own, okay? And most of them are regarding your budget notifications, and you want to start getting notifications when we are consuming certain amount of our budget, right? So we want to start providing some automation around your controlling mechanisms. Okay. Now with that, I can refresh my totals, I can create baselines, I can create budgets. Okay, we're gonna work on the budgets themselves and billings over here. Okay, but just to give you an idea, this follows the same process that you see currently on your projects. Okay, you can create a baseline. That baseline will be now the accumulation of all your projects. So we are not reinventing the wheel, we're just grouping everything on a higher level. Excuse me. So from the portfolios, we get down to the programs. I'm gonna just enter one of these programs. Some of the information that you will see here is kind of a repetition of what I already mentioned at the portfolio level. Remember, the only difference over here is I'm going to define which one is my portfolio. Okay. Through automation, and of course, we can configure this for each particular customer. As I define and select my portfolio for my particular program, I can inherit the properties of the portfolio. Okay, so from one side, we can accumulate and aggregate from the project level, coming back up, and from the other side, coming top down, the portfolio. And then you get down to the projects themselves. Now, I'm not going to be demoing those automations today, but the idea is, as we were saying, let's say that you define your budget for the portfolio, that $10 million, okay? And now you're creating a new project. And as I create a new project and I drill into the project information, I add a portfolio. Let's say that I started with my whole project and I put a budget of $12 million, okay? And I go and say, now this project will be part of this portfolio. And so as soon as I put the portfolio and it says, oops, you're going 2 million over the budget of the portfolio. Okay, so that's the whole idea of the controlling part of the portfolio, getting those notifications. Okay, now we're going to go about with the customers. How do you want to get those notifications? And how do you want to go about your business process? Would you allow them to associate the project with the portfolio or not? Okay, some business rules that we want to put in place. Yes, I will. Would you send some notifications to revise the budget for the portfolio, or will you automatically increase the budget on the portfolio, right? So that part, we go back to the 80% to the 100% of the solution. We leave it for us to have a conversation with the customer and to finalize the implementation configuration to their particular needs. Okay, not everybody goes about the same way in their businesses and how they modify the budget. They might say, keep that as a baseline of the budget and then create another budget, increasing the $2 million, right? So we have the historical budgets associated to the portfolio, and we see that there is a chance because another project was added to the portfolio, which is common practice for us. Great, we'll do it that way. Okay, so all those data points allow us to now have those conversations and configure it in a way that the customers can use it. That sounded kind of repetitive. Now, if there are no more questions on the project,
I have one. What is this generate project plan? I don't think that's standard.
Oh, that's another of our beauty customization. So none of our customers really start a project from scratch. They have templates. They have existing projects that they use. Okay.
Good.
But you have the copy functionality out of the box. Okay. We added some projects that we define with a particular property that is a template, so they don't show to everyone. They only are used for us to use as a template. So when we kick off this functionality, we can start a project from an existing project. Okay, that's the copy. When you do that, it will give you some other options. from a template, right? So this one is telling us, okay, you have a bunch of projects, which one you want to use. And as you select something, it's going to give you some information before you proceed. Okay. I go back, I can use a template. That is another predefined, another set of projects that I can use. Kind of the same. What is your list of templates? There's only one. And what are you going to get started? And then we have some AI power. I give an example. EY, and we implement the project operation. They have a bunch of templates. And now we're working with another division that what they have is they have on their own set of tools over 500 different solutions, products that they can sell. Okay, so imagine this as an opportunity builder, price building thing that they have. So they say, I want to select these 10 products from this area, this other material products for this other area, and these other deliverables, they call it, okay, which is pieces that they choose from different solutions that they provide, professional services. With lot of that, they say, I need to create all these tasks, and they come from different models, okay? So now it says, given your product selection and your pricing range that they want to be at also, this is the project that needs to be created, and it provides all the tasks. And that task, they call it AI power as well. It comes from the previous projects, the product selected, the solution selected, and the services selected. They call it AI. And we're trying to work a lot with AI there to make it smarter every time. Because at the end of the day, they are giving a suggestion, and then they say cherry pick the tasks. And then it gets created with all those tasks, and therefore the resource allocation are required.
That's really good, because yesterday colleagues were demoing project operations, and they were just complaining to me that there are no templates. So we had to kind of create a project, put the hashtag template, and then copy. So it doesn't really do the job, but yeah, that's the best.
Well, you're getting started. That's the way we started, and then we ended up with all this sophistication and navigation. So that's what it is. And yes, it's not an out-of-the-box portal.
Yeah,
you will see some
great.
things that are not out of the box. Like over here, it didn't pop out yet, but we have customers, we have our time tracking solution, and then we have a lot of customers that they require a clock in, clock out functionality. Okay, so they want to have professional services, attorneys especially. Okay, they want to say, I'm going to clock in, I'm working on this matter, which is a project, right? And as I'm working on this, I'm going to let it run over there. And then by the end of my demo,
is it on project level or on the task level?
Both. So actually, depending on the project, we have it configured that when I clock out, okay, I have all my attendances, and I can save this, and I can show you over here my past attendances. I can create a time entry out of them. Okay? And that time entry, when I create it, it will ask me which one is the project.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And given the configuration, the task will be a required field or not, so on and so forth. And they also want to manage their absences through this application. So they want to manage their holidays, their absences. Some of the absences are considered time entries as well. So that whole relationship is there. In all of this, it affects the projects, the resource allocation, their availability, so on and so forth. So yes, on our demos, you will see a lot of nice little things that we have been building for the customers as we move through them. Okay. Did that answer your question?
No,
the question was just a little question. Now, we go to our portfolio management application, okay? And I can click on it, and then we see this particular part of the application of what a portfolio manager will be working on a daily basis. This is the Gantt chart, together with some information that we provide for them. Okay, so now we have the portfolio defined. We did have some nice financials over there. Of course, we have access to all the reports, dashboards, etc. that you commonly have on any of those views. Okay, but now I start my day and I want to see what are my portfolios and how am I doing on my portfolios. Okay, so by that, you can see on the left side all my portfolios that I have access to, and just like you have all around the system, you can define your own views. So that will change the view of the portfolios that I see. Given the portfolios, I want to start expanding, and I have my program levels under the portfolio. So I nicely call them PPM implementation, then program. I recognize them. And then under my program itself is where I have my projects. Okay, so 2 different views. I can drag and drop this. This is the Gantt view, and I can go on a monthly basis. I can go on a quarter basis. I can go on a yearly basis. So I can have different views. Okay, just like the Gantt chart in our project operation functionality, I create dependencies. I can have different functionalities and things that I can do, split the task, edit the tasks, so on and so forth. Okay, I can apply the filters directly over here on my programs, on my projects, etc. Okay. Once I'm done looking at my Gantt view, I can go back to my grid view, okay? And I can, of course, make this bigger the other way. So I want to see my financial information, my status information, my actual versus my budgets, also from. Again, all these views, we work in the same way. So we can add data points, we can subtract data points, we can even apply some formulas as needed for their one-page view in which they're controlling all these projects and portfolios. Okay. Just to recap, the portfolio, all we want is to inherit everything that can be done at the project level and just bring it up on an aggregation through programs in a way that you can manage everything that you have in your company, every project, internal, external, whether they're in US, UK, or India. There's a lot of little details, such as how to manage some of the. Can we take a look at the reports? Is obviously the same way that we go about reporting all over the system. You create your own BI reports, you have access to it, and now you really are reusing the data points and the data structure that is provided with the portfolios. So we can slice that data in any way you want as a customer, of course, and present it and filter in any other way you feel comfortable with. So we have the whole quantity of projects, the efforts in hours, the tasks completed, and then I pointed this report to another database that has a lot more information, so I can have more colors. Okay. And you can go down to the task levels in each one of the projects. So as you are filtering in different things, everything will get filtered. The portfolios will give me a list of everything, all the reports that I have over here. Okay, but you already know how you can configure or customize reports, so I'm not going to bore you with that. So with that being said, the last part where the portfolio takes a little bit also of a, I would say, influence, is when you do time entries, okay? So the time entries, and this is our own application of time entries, which I like to show because it has a hierarchy that kind of shows the structure of what we're trying to facilitate for users, okay? So as I go to create a new time entry on my calendar view, I can just click on the day, and it will bring up for me a hierarchy on the right for me to identify if I want to start at a portfolio level, at a customer level. So this is giving a customer, right? This is giving a project, and then it brings down the task. And of course, it will show me the task in which I'm associated or allocated to, so I can create.
It will not show you all the tasks, only your tasks.
Yes, only the ones that I have access that I can enter.
Yeah.
And we follow the same line that project operations does, essentially. Okay. But the idea is, as I select different tasks on different projects, we allow you to also configure and customize these forms. So in this particular instance, for this project that we call CapEx, it does require for me to enter a service deliverable code. Okay. That, now going to the portfolio relationship, could have been defined at the project level, at the program level, or at the portfolio level. Right? So we like the inheritance of all these things. Okay, so that's why I kind of wanted to show you this. Depending on the project that I'm in, that depends either to an aggregation for the customer, the portfolio, so on and so forth, it will configure the application. We don't want to show them any of that, which is hiding.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any questions before I move on here? Let's, if I just want to save it, I save it, and now it's going to be part of my team. I see you thinking. That is good.
It's Friday. We're all thinking
About happy hours and bills. Me too. But before we get to that point, I can navigate around and click around many other areas. That's kind of about it on the demo. Okay, we wanted to explain the capabilities and just to leave that pin with you. So now it's in your head. Now you know if you recognize any of those functionalities, needs, requirements. You can call us
one
back
thing, can you invoice on portfolio, or you have to invoice on the project, or there is a way to filter somehow to invoice together?
Yes, you can. Okay, but pretty much what you do is you start with a selection. I was going on the billings and see if I have any actual link to go through that. Okay, but if you change here to the I can go to another application over here. So if I go back to my out-of-the-box project operations application, I will then have access to all my invoicing and billing areas. And now I'm back on project operations, out of the box functionality. I can start looking at my invoices and I can batch, that where you can define the batch invoices. You can accumulate it at the portfolio level. So you can define to start the batch invoicing process now with the portfolio. So I have all the projects associated to the portfolio. There will be some things that we'll need to work on if you associated projects that are of different customers. Do you want one invoice per customer? Because now it's not one invoice at the portfolio anymore. They cannot be aggregated into two different customers, right? So there is some logic that you want to apply on that, which goes back to the portfolio validation as well, right? So you can have portfolios that are across customers. For instance, EY, an example of ourselves, they have a different company in each country, right? So their portfolio, they look at the customers worldwide as their portfolio, how they manage their customers and projects, but the invoices go country by country. So that's a consideration that they need to have if they want to initiate a batch that says invoice everything on this portfolio. Then it's not one invoice, it's just really one invoice per country, and now you can accumulate all the projects defined on that portfolio for that particular country. I hope that answers your question. Again, it just gives you the higher level for you to get started on the invoice batch. And I don't have any invoices. I'm a good guy. I don't bill people. Any other questions? Thoughts? What can we do better?
No, all clear, all clear. It looks really good. It's always automation, blah, blah, blah. But I think it's very straightforward to use. It looks very clean for me. It's so if you like our interface, you will like this. You don't, you will not. But it looks totally seamless to whatever project operations people might use to work with.
And I'm sure Kseniya already mentioned this to you, but usually the way we do our demos is we have a conversation with the customer first, and we ask them, what are your pain points around portfolio management. What is that you would like to see? Right? So if they focus on the automation, validations, then we go and configure a little bit. So when we do the demo, they see those notifications, in-app notifications, we can send an email, and we create a little flow and validation so it represents their needs. And that's when it clicks to them like, oh, nice, I love this. This is what I need, right? So we leave that always for us to configure the demo.
Yeah, it looks for me, it bridges the gap that we have. So I think I told Kseniya we had at the end of the last year, we had one opportunity that we qualified out because of portfolio management.
So that brings me into.
Yeah, and then we are now in some conversation with quite a big companies, and yesterday, as I said, my colleague had a meeting with them. So if they are, I will definitely share this with them, because I know that the templates being brought up, they have different templates for different kind of projects that are using. I don't know in the details about do they need portfolio management or not, but another big project operations gig is about to come in, so definitely this came at the right time for me to understand what you have. Have you done anything in resourcing?
A lot. That's another big pain point for all our customers.
Yes.
I can show you.
It's always awful to, it's always awful to demo that.
And unfortunately, whenever I'm using, it might be because I use Mac, but whenever I use Teams to do presentations, project operation itself runs slowly. Kind of the machine runs slowly.
We have some people have issues with Teams today. I'm not the only one, and Excel for a couple of days. I don't know if you have that, but there is something.
The Excel import is not really working on project operation. So that's what I
No,
heard
no,
from
in
my
general,
customer.
Excel, our business analyst is going crazy. She can't do anything in Excel.
So for resource allocation, I tell you what the common challenge is and what the request from us and what this application represents, right? So you have two ways to manage resources. One is initiated by the demand, which is the projects, right? So that usually comes with the template. The template already has all the tasks, and we use generic resources. So after it gets generated, you already know the happy path out of project operations in which you can find matches, right, for that particular resource. Then you have the supply side of this, which is when all those requests demands are generated, you have a resource manager who needs to go and take care of this, right? So the first part that they say, yes, the whole thing is nice, but it's super manual. Okay? And we want to have more capabilities on matching on the skills matrix that you can create in project operation. So we created different views and different ways to go about matching those requests, and the resource manager managing his days. So this app, which we call Manager, is the resource manager that has a nice dashboard of all the requests by projects, the requests by roles, the requests by different sections, in which way we slice the data, the active resource that they need to act on. Okay? They can go on the requests themselves. You can have a list. Of course, we're going to have also the schedule board that they can use. But I wanted to show you how we go about the matching. So we facilitate the life of the person requesting and the person supplying. Okay? So for any one of these, in the meantime, do a duplicate here of this tab so you see the other side of this view. Okay. And actually, we're going to start on a project. So we follow the regular path. We're almost there.
No worries, I'm used to this.
So you know how we can define the skills at the project level? Okay, so we also allow them to define it at the task level. And eventually we'll load. So the first part that we want to make sure is that we have enough skills so we can do then the matching, not only based on the calendars and the start and end date of the task, but the skills themselves. So as you know, you can change and add more skills needed, languages needed, experiences needed. Okay, then we can go to the resources. And now we go into the area of the staffing. So in this view, I'm going to see my generic resources as well as the book resource. For each one of these generic resources, we have the cost associated, that part with the sales price, And if I double click on this particular requirement, which is going to be my request, we added the find matches, and then it brings the resource finder. And this is the part that they like, which is applying the matrix of all my skills and requirements at the task level and a representation of what are my best matching resources given the matrix that I provide. And that matrix has a percentage of matching towards your resources. So this particular guy, Daniel, is a perfect match on the availability. He's available throughout the start and end date of the task and the quantity of hours required for that task. However, it's not a full match on the skill match. It's a partial match, right? And again, we can represent this in colors or using the nice properties of the different controls that we have in Power Apps. It could be a slide or percentage and so forth. It's not an industry match whatsoever. It doesn't have any on the industry skills, and it goes on and on and on the hierarchy that you define for those skills. In this particular case, we only have language, right? So from here, I can go and do a hard book. You will see this button, but it's not also out of the box. We call it host book. That's another one of the requirements from our customers. And it goes about, it's not the soft and hard book concept that we have in project operations. The ghost booking is they don't want the resources themselves, knowing that they have been booked to particular projects and tasks until it's fully approved by the project manager. Then it goes about this relationship between the supply and demand that I was telling you, and what is out of the box, which is, we are recommending this resource, now you need to approve it. So that whole visibility wanted to be controlled. Okay. So this is one which I find that it's a nice way of visualizing my matching instead of going through the schedule board. The schedule board, in my opinion, is more for field services. Okay? And this is more for a resource skill-based allocation, okay, which I want to find the perfect match. Now, the logic that we use to do this matching, it also takes in consideration your preferred resources if you determine that on your general or preferred requirements over here, right? Now, you can do that manually by, finding the match. Or as projects are created from the templates, from the generic resource, this can be automated. We'll go back to the automation, right? Which is later running once per day, once per night, or maybe trigger time one when a project is created, and it creates this for you. So now the resource manager doesn't have to go about trying to find the resources all the time. The matrix is provided for them. They just have to go about saying, okay, that's the guy that I want a hard book and a book. Was this something that you were hoping to see?
Yeah. It looks more it's too much noise on a scheduling board. It is. I can see it's in combination with scheduling board. Once you move it, so you have an overview there, and then you can kind of go and reschedule somebody. But this looks as initial one way more manageable than a scheduling board.
So that's one of the things. I'm sure we have a lot more. I don't have them in this environment, as you probably know. We put in different environments, but there is different ways that they go about, because the schedule board, as you know, it gets confusing for people. It's too much information.
Yeah, it is.
Now, what you will see, like these particular environments, we did a test for more than 20 to 60,000 resources. That is the requirement that we got from some of our customers, right? So the issue that they have with the schedule board, it would take up to 10 minutes too long. And so the famous way that they go about it is preset some filtering criteria, so it takes less time. They keep it open, never close it. That's the recommendation, right? So what we said is, why don't you go about really the automation? You start thinking about automation, because what you really want is the system to do it for you. And then you just do the final reconciliation of, okay, these are my 10, 20, or 100 best matches. And out of that, you don't want to go through all the 60,000 resources, right? You really want to have these matches based on your skill. Let the automation do the heavy lift. So by the time you get to the resource, the scheduling board and the resources, they are already pre-filtered by the automation. So as you said, this now works in combination with the schedule board, if that makes sense. Okay, so when I click these 5 matches, that's when it generates the whole thing. I'm doing really well on time, by the way, I want to say. Joe will get to talk and everything.
I'm just typing to a colleague. We did, one partner did very poorly project operation demo, and I'm asking him, are we still in a play for that? So
Why didn't you call us before that?
It was not our call.
Maya.
It was not our call. The customer brought them, and they gave up on. I hope just partner, not the solution overall.
Maya,
but
customers
you
are
never
like
know.
my kids. I cannot let them do
Annoying.
anything that they want. You know?
I know. Sometimes it's you know how it's with salespeople. I don't know if anybody's here. Kseniya says, but we are sometimes we are called too late, and sometimes we are called too early. It's like this Goldilocks. We need to be called at the right time before somebody does the damage. But if it's still in a play, definitely, let's see what we can do. Project operations from it becoming better and better, and more in demand. I come from the project management and accounting side, from F&O, and when I first saw it, I think this is, but it's getting there. It's getting there. Not on a finance part, which is never. It's not designed for it, but from the project management and the resource, and it's getting better.
I think I'm glad that you recognize it's just different requirements, right? Finance is totally different for projects than the customer facing and the engaging part. Sorry, Kseniya.
Yeah, I agree. But the question is about the customer requirements and the partner knowledge also of the industry and the way how you show project operations, because you can show different parts, and if you do not understand really the industry challenges, you are showing just a tool, not a solution for the customer.
Yeah.
And this is what we're trying to avoid, not to show everything, but only the flow and the process that the customer is interested in.
Yeah, definitely. You will not go and show portfolio to somebody who is, I don't know, have a field service or whatever. That's not That's not the point. But I saw these things missing from the. So in F&O we had project and sub-project and hierarchy. So you can kind of build that portfolio thing in a project hierarchy. Not this good. All project managers hate F&O. But also the problem with F&O was the invoicing. So you can generate only one type of invoice method on the project level. So it can be either time and material, fixed price. In project operations, you can do it basically on a task level.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, for me, this project operations makes project managers' life easier. But standard doesn't cover the hierarchy, so that's a minus. Yes, we can do it in Power Platform. You can do Power BI reports, do some extra fields, but that's not the functionality. That's a workaround. So this is really good because that covers what they need. So it is very, very happy to see this.
So from the requirement that you saw back in December from that opportunity that you mentioned, does our solution covers?
Yes, I think it would. I think it would. They're starting and they're quite small, and they wanted to cover that project with project operations, and unfortunately we didn't know that you have the portfolio management. We introduced a partner who claimed they have, and when they enter into opportunity, then they try to sell something else, and it turned out that they don't have a portfolio management at all, and the customer really was not very happy with us wasting their time.
Understandably.
Yeah.
I do have to jump to another meeting.
Yeah.
So I wanted to see if there is any other.
No, thank you very much. This was really, really useful. Really useful, Malcolm. Thank you.
However, you know where to find me now.
Yes, definitely.
I know who knows.
I will contact Kseniya. She's in my teams now. But yes, definitely. I think I will talk to the colleagues from yesterday. The today requirement was on a schedule, on resource schedule. So I think definitely we will talk to each other soon.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you do have a happy Friday today. I'll leave you in better hands, so you get rid of me. This is good. Bye now. Happy Friday.
Thank you, Malcolm.
Happy Friday.
Okay.
I can't say the BYE word because I have a dog who's here, and whenever he senses that I might be ending a call, he's like, yeah, it's this time that we are going out. And I have to be very neutral and kind of wave and think nothing is happening.
Well, since we're German, we can just say auf Wiedersehen or tush because we're German.
Yeah,
that's better.
Yeah, natürlich. We have keine Problem with that.
Kein Problem, yeah,
keine
super.
Problem, no?
Danke.
Super. I lived in Germany for a couple of years, so I'm
Joe is now also learning German as well.
Okay.
Yeah, learning bad German. Viel Glück, yeah.
Glück.
Yeah. Ich lerne.
I can teach you bad words, but that's not.
Okay.
This is the first thing everybody learns in any foreign language is how to swear.
I'm not there yet.
You're behind, Kseniya.
Yes, I'm not there yet. I'm just teaching other people bad words from Ukrainian language. So.
Okay. we have
to.
I think you are probably the same as Croatians. We have to think on that one.
So what do we have for our roadmap So actually, some parts we've already implemented and included into the solution, but there will be more to come. So we will advance the solution with more AI functionality. So resource management, basically, we see the need. We also have some workarounds and some customizations that we also will include into the PPM. So the portfolio management, so the portfolio plan comparison, we already have it, but it's now in the test mode. So it soon be available for the customers, and what if scenario plannings and trend analysis. And in financials, so there will be a more refined budget forecasting and benefits analysis. So this is the plan for this year, already in place. So I think from the business value, it is all clear. So the messaging of PPM solution, we're not selling it to you today, but this is just for the customers. Some understanding on what is the business value on portfolio level. Then licensing. So that's a question that I think we discussed previous time. So the PPM solution is available with both project operations licenses and Power Apps licenses. So, which is good, and we also have now a case when we have this solution based on project for the web. So this is one of the cases, and the whole solution was built on the Power Platform. So from our biggest cases, and we have a success story on the Microsoft website. It's something interesting. So Deutsche Bahn, they participate in this climate protection program. So they got 11 billion euros for this program, and they have a lot of portfolios, a lot of programs, projects to manage. So this solution was a key factor for them to select project operations because of the extensive amount of portfolios, and the importance was to have this traceability of budgets to see clearly what are the status of all the portfolios and how well they manage the funds. So the UK project is Dragger. So this is where Joe worked and can tell a little bit more about the customer.
Yes, this was an interesting one because the customer was originally considering project operations for one of their divisions, but in the end, I think project for the web sort of just won out, just simply because of licensing. So, from a PPM standpoint, we were able to go in and sort of effectively build on top of that. So I think what's compelling for me about the PPM solution is the fact that, we can cover both ends of the spectrum. If there is a pushback on project operations for whatever reason, then we can potentially deploy it out and have all of that really good stuff around the Power Platform that we can just sort of tap into straight away.
Yeah, the Draga, they are producing this measurement instruments from all types of industry, do they?
Yeah, medical devices primarily. So they've got project managers in the UK, in Germany, who are basically managing these programs. So medical devices for like the NHS trusts and things like that in the UK. So so being used across Europe in terms of the solution stuff, and using project for the web and Power Platform extensibility and PPM. So I think as well, in terms of my observations as well, just based on from a European side as well, is that when it comes to bigger multinationals, typically SAP will be an equation, a factor there. So the fact that we can use the Power Platform and we've got a PPM solution based on the Power Platform can help with those conversations, because typically we it's not going to be in scope that we're going to be replacing SAP at all. I don't think anybody would have the patience or the time until the end of the century to sort of complete that project. So, with our solution, we can go in and we can effectively, do a sort of SAP modernization piece almost, in terms of
Yeah, that's what we are kind of staring at. I don't know if you know, but the lead for the supply chain management in Microsoft is Samir. He came from SAP.
Yeah, we met him.
Yeah, so he's a lovely guy, and he said exactly that it's not that we even want to replace SAP from the companies like Vodafone or whoever, that because probably SAP lost money on those kind of implementations because it's just.
But he came from SAP.
Yeah. He came from SAP, so he knows, and that's why he's so interested in us building this business solutions as more agile, and you don't have to replace all these monolithic systems you have. You can use project operations for something, then you can use, I don't know, our asset management on top of your SAP or finance planning. So we are trying to kind of democratize this ERP not being big, huge, solid system. And this is where this story with project operation fits in. They might replace SAP in 10 years. They might never, but we don't care because we are still there and with them. And they will probably use more on the project operations and Power Platform and things in the end than SAP. SAP will just be the deposit for the finance.
And this is why I think project operations is like a USP for Microsoft at the moment. And I think Microsoft sellers should really invest a little bit more time into promoting this solution for their customers, because
let's not go there. We are still
But this is an easiest way for them to generate opportunities, because when they start conversation to replace SAP or to replace Salesforce, it's always a hard road for them. But when you start with a new solution that can connect both CRM and ERP, it's easier. And it's something where that customers are quite interested in.
Yeah, I totally agree with all. But we are, how it is in these big organizations. It's all the eyes are now on AI, on Copilot, on that. But the good news is that when you look at project operations, my English is escaping. It's Friday afternoon. The roadmap. You can see a lot of investments there. So the product is alive. There is investment both in finance and operations and project operations. They are building Copilot in. It's not the end solution that Microsoft just kind of we have and we don't do anything with it. The investments are there.
And the leader now of the Copilot for F&O, Gurkan Salk, he was previously
yes.
in the role of some years. So I think it is a perfect.
Me. So Gurkan, I was quite, and I've been in this business, as you know, quite a long, and I still love it. And the day I stop caring, that will be the day that I will probably retire. We have a tendency in Microsoft going out with solutions too early. And that was the problem with project operations initially. I was on the partner side then, and we tried to, Microsoft tried to implement that on a very big customer of my partners then, the partners that I was working for. And it simply was not there. They were using F&O, they were using project management and accounting. Microsoft tried to pitch project operations integration with F&O without financial dimensions, and then on one call was say, well, you can edit them manually in F&O. They have 5,000 people that are sending the timesheets every day. Who would edit it manually, and how do you know? It's like, and I was trying to tell Gurkan what's wrong with the product, so we didn't hit off very well. But it's not that I was being difficult. You can't sell to an enterprise customer something that's not working or doesn't work, it requires a lot of manual work. They already have that. They have solution that doesn't work. Why would they need a new one? So it was a problem. Us starting too early, but now I think the product is more mature and it's easier to sell.
Yeah, I hope so, because in our case, the issue was in the very beginning, because they said that PSA is a dead solution. And then they introduced project operations, which was actually based on PSA. It is a second version of PSA. So it was kind of interesting marketing move from Microsoft side, but it really didn't lay good with customers, and they had a lot of concerns, especially because PSA was also quite fresh solution on the market, and they decided to announce that it will be deprecated and there will be a completely new solution.
Yeah. So I understand the move for project operation being on Dataverse, because we are trying. You are not maybe that into FNO, but we are trying to, as FNO is not on a Power Platform, it's not on Dataverse, but there are now some parts that are coming, like demand planning, the financial processes, warehouse management is going agnostic. So we are trying to move the FNO to a Power Platform, and that makes this move very logical and good, because, as I said, I never saw a project manager who was happy with when you demo project management in FNO. Even though it's powerful, you can plan, you can link it to your supply chain, manufacturing, fixed assets. It does everything, but it's just not user friendly.
I think it's going to be an interesting technical challenge. I know they tried it a few years ago to get the FNO data model into Dataverse. It's just, I think, just the sheer number of tables, I think, was probably the main factor there. So
now I think it's more on the modular level that it's exposing, because moving it all to Dataverse, it's huge. You can't. It's enormous.
But certainly, my impression is that with the FNO and the full solution penetration is definitely more in the US. For the projects that we're doing in Europe, we're having to usually interact with SAP, and we've done a lot of work there in terms of trying to build solutions that sort of fit nicely with that. Siemens is a good example of that, where we've done that. So
that's it from our presentation. I can share with you both slide decks and some success stories.
That would be really good, Kseniya, really good. We can stop recording if you want. So it is, as I said, we have asks for project operations. Some of the demo